Okay, so good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Ari, in case you don't know who I am, and I'm 22 years old. I know, Unju said she'd be here for the rest of her life, and the missionaries are here for the next 2 years. I'm here for one more month, so I'm trying to make the most of this last month by sharing things I have to say. And for this month, actually, maybe I spoke too much at the annual gathering, and I shared that my motto is to just say yes. And I think Raymond was definitely one person who was listening in the crowd, and he took the opportunity to ask me if I'd like to give the sermon at Hatch End next time. And I thought, well, after I've told the nation that my motto is to just say yes, I can't exactly say no to Raymond. So that's why I'm here today giving the message. But I'm grateful because it gives me an opportunity to explain where this motto comes from and why I think it is really important to just say yes in a bit more detail. So a few years ago, maybe 4-5 years ago, I started watching this series together with my dad on, was it Amazon, on Netflix, with a man named Joseph Campbell. Does anyone know who Joseph Campbell is? Okay, I'm no surprise to see Uncle William with his hand up. Joseph Campbell, I think I might have mentioned him in one of my previous messages because he's had a profound influence on my life and the way I view it. And he made life seem very, very exciting. He speaks a lot about mythology, and he has this book called The Hero with 1,000 Faces. And in this book, he details what the hero's journey is. And today, I want to focus on the first part of the hero's journey, which is departure. So I don't know if any of you saw it on the WhatsApp announcement, but the title of this message is, let me see if I can get it right, The Hero's Journey, Answering the Call to Adventure. Is it? Wow, look, impressive. I know my own title. And so I'm going to look at the first step of the hero's journey today, what it means to answer this call to adventure. So if we think about any story, if you think about your favorite book, or if you think about stories in the Bible, or even your own life, there seems to be many opportunities, and at the start of every story, there is this call to adventure. And there are different ways that this adventure is presented to you. I think sometimes you are pursuing an adventure. Maybe you're seeking for something, a new truth, a new way of life, and you're actively out there looking. And so the adventure doesn't come to you by accident. You're deliberately seeking it out. Sometimes I feel that the adventure is presented to us when we're not looking for it. So I don't know with some of the first gen here, when you were witness to, maybe you weren't looking for something and somebody approached you and suddenly your life transformed. You were called to an adventure that you could never have imagined. And sometimes maybe your community pushes you to start an adventure. Maybe they see some potential in you and they feel, oh, you could really grow. You could really go on a new adventure and learn something. So I wanted to basically tell you that my motto of just saying yes comes from viewing my life as a journey, a hero's journey. And this is not because I feel like I'm particularly important. And actually, if we look at Joseph Campbell's book, The Hero with 1,000 Faces, the whole point is that every single one of us is a hero. We all look differently. We all look different, but we're all on the same journey. Even if that journey is different, we're all heroes on our own journey. And our calls to adventure might look very, very different, and we might be going on very different adventures, but I think the important thing is just to say yes and to start the adventure. And of course, that's much easier said than done, but I want to talk today about why it's important and different examples of people who have said yes to going on an adventure. And I'm looking around the room, and I'm sure pretty much everyone here has done that at least once, but probably many, many times already in their life. And today is just an opportunity to reflect on where your mind was at when you said yes to that adventure. What were you committing to? Maybe you didn't know what the destination was, but at least you knew that you wanted to take one step forwards on your way to get there. So, I was speaking about how sometimes people are seeking adventures actively. And I think sometimes this is because they're dissatisfied with what's going on. Maybe they feel like there must be more to life than what I'm making of it right now. And sometimes it's just genuine boredom. Maybe like life is boring and you need an adventure. You need a deeper meaning in life. You need something to live for and something to work towards. And yeah, maybe it's because God is calling out to you, and God's voice is coming to you in different ways through different people, and we just need to be open and receptive to hearing it. So I think we can think of many examples, and since we're here and I've got True Parents' photo just there, I think we can think about, first of all, True Father and then True Mother and how they responded to their calls to adventure. So I've got a couple quotes from True Father's autobiography. And I'm sure many of us know that when True Father was first approached by Jesus, when he first appeared to him, True Father rejected the mission, right? He didn't feel worthy. So I'm going to read a little excerpt from the autobiography about True Father's initial response. Let me see, do I have it up here? Yes. Okay. So the two excerpts from True Father's autobiography are from two sections that are back to back. So the first section is Between Fear and Inspiration. And I feel like that's a really good title, actually. As I was looking for these quotes, because I knew they were in there, I thought the subheadings and the chapter titles of True Father's autobiography are really, really interesting. I feel like you could do a deeper exploration of the meaning behind phrases like between fear and inspiration. What does that really mean? What is that place, right? And I think it's a place that we're constantly hovering between. Like, oh, maybe I don't want to do it. I'm on the journey, but I'm scared. What are the obstacles on the way? Who are the monsters I'm going to encounter? But then also inspiration, feeling like, yes, this is an opportunity. There's something great there. There's a treasure I need to find. Anyway, that was just a thought I had as I was looking at the quotes. But yeah, True Father, his initial response is, I can't do this. How can I do this? Why would you even give me a mission of such paramount importance? I was truly afraid. I wanted somehow to avoid this mission, and I clung to the hem of his clothing and wept inconsolably. So, to me, that sounds like a pretty big rejection, right? True Father just feels overwhelmed by this mission. He doesn't feel worthy, right? It's such a huge mission that he's being given by Jesus. And I, of course, I empathize with that. I feel like if I were asked to take on such a mission, I would react in exactly the same way. I would not feel worthy. But I think it's not really about who you are and what you think of yourself that's important. It's the potential that God sees in us. And I think when True Father was able to realize that, and when he was asked again and again to take on the mission, finally he realized, you know what, maybe I'm not the most qualified person, maybe I'm not the most worthy person, but God wants to work through me, and I'm going to give God an opportunity to do that. And I was talking about this point with my dad yesterday, actually, in prep, and we both thought of the Lord of the Rings. So put your hands up if you've seen Lord of the Rings. All right. A lot more people know Lord of the Rings than Joseph Campbell. Well, that's all right. And in the Lord of the Rings, there's this scene, right, where they're deciding who's going to be the one to take the ring, to destroy it. And they're all arguing, the elves and the dwarves, like, oh, no, I'm the most qualified, maybe I'm the wisest, maybe I'm the eldest, maybe I'm the strongest. And then the one who looks like the least powerful or the least worthy is the one who has the purest heart, the most humble heart, and not out of ego, but just because he's receptive and he knows that this is his calling, he says yes. And then everybody unites around Frodo. I'm glad I got it right. I was like, Bilbo, Frodo. But yes, it's Frodo. And I feel like that's true for a lot of the missions that we're called upon. Maybe you feel that when God is calling out to you, you think, well, I'm not the wisest. I don't have the best weapons. This adventure is better suited to someone else. But just because there are other people out there doesn't mean that you can't go on your own adventure. And you can become qualified along the way. If I think about my life and the different little adventures that I've been on, I've been given all these opportunities that I've said yes to. And when I said yes to these opportunities, I definitely wasn't the most qualified person to do them. I'm still not the most qualified person in all these different positions that I've had a chance to work in. But I've grown because I said yes. So Some of you have seen that as a Sunday service coordinator. I like to think I've got a bit better at that over time, over about 1.5 years now. Or even when I took on the leadership position in Harrow, I became a co-leader. Actually, I didn't volunteer myself for either of those positions, but I thought, why not? If God is giving me an opportunity to serve my community, and it's coming from a humble place, it's not coming from a place where I just want to inflate my ego, but actually I've got this opportunity and I don't have a good reason to say no, then yes, I should serve. Yes, I should say yes to this adventure, which is why I have, and I feel like that's been to my benefit, and I like to think that I've been able to serve the community well because I said yes. So yeah, that's my experience of it, and I think everyone here is capable, probably more capable than they realize, of saying yes. So yeah, and it's very easy for me to say that now. I'm standing at the front, and if we're thinking about this spectrum between fear and inspiration, of course, I'm leaning towards inspiration right now because I'm standing up here and I'm giving you a sermon and I want to inspire you and inspire myself. But that's not to say that I'm always there. And so I'll look at some examples of some people who have had to move between the two ends of the spectrum, fluctuating between them. And as part of that, I want to look at True Father's reflection on how his life progressed because he was able to say yes eventually. After initially rejecting the mission, he said yes. And so in the next section, which is titled, "The More It Hurts, the More You Should Love," he says, "So why did God call me? Even now, at 90 years of age, I wonder every day why God called me. Of all the people in the world, why did he choose me? It wasn't because I had a particularly good appearance or outstanding character or deep conviction. I was just an unremarkable, stubborn, and foolish young boy. If God saw something in me, it must have been a sincere heart that sought him with tears of love. Whatever the time or place, love is most important. God was searching for a person who would live with a heart of love and who, when faced with suffering, could cut off its effects with love. I was a boy in a rural village with nothing to show for myself. Even now, I insist uncompromisingly on sacrificing my life to live for God's love and nothing else." So it's interesting, right? True Father is the first to point out that he was unremarkable, stubborn, and foolish. And I think maybe sometimes when we're leaning towards the fear end of the spectrum, we'll feel that way about ourselves. I'm nothing special. Why me? Somebody else should take it on, really. But what's important is True Father has this sincere heart. And I feel that I see a lot of sincerity in the room around me. And I was reflecting actually on the different members of our community who have answered this call and seem to do it with such great sincerity that it inspires others. So I think even in I don't know who's in the WhatsApp group chat, but in the WhatsApp group chat recently, there have been some really nice testimonies that have been shared, and I was discussing some of them with my mum. So people like Uncle John who have been witnessing, right? And they seem to be sincerely accepting the mission from True Mother, this adventure, this mission that True Mother has given to all of us to do witnessing and to invite others and to welcome them into Heavenly Parents' holy community. This is an adventure that we could all go on. And if you have a sincere heart and you do it in the right way, then you'll have successes and you'll be able to share that with the community and inspire them to go on this journey with you. So yeah, that's been one example, but I think there are many. And my mom was telling me as well about Uncle Ken. Some people, maybe they do witnessing under the radar. You don't hear the stories, but they're still there working hard. And you can always reach out to these people, find out what is it that drives you? Why did you say yes to this calling? And it was interesting. We were looking at the fishing workshop, right? What's going on in Alaska. And I was thinking, my sister's on a pretty big adventure right now. And she said yes to it, and she didn't just say yes to it. She's been preparing for it for months and months, raising funds and preparing herself internally, getting a boat license and going on fishing workshops, organizing things. So sometimes, it's not just as easy as saying yes to an adventure. Yes, you could say yes, but then after that comes a lot of hard work. But I think without saying yes, you don't make any progress. You don't give yourself the opportunity to start working hard, to start progressing towards these goals. And I think another important lesson to learn from True Father's case is that perhaps you've said no in the past. Maybe you didn't feel ready. But that doesn't mean that you can't say yes now, or you can't say yes at the next opportunity. You don't have to feel like, oh no, I failed, or that opportunity has passed me by. We're still here, we're still alive, we're still on this physical world, and you can always say yes to the next opportunity. You can always choose to say yes today. And I was thinking that it's interesting to compare Chufather's case with Chumother's case in terms of the way that Chumother was able to say yes to her calling, also at a very similar age. And I've got a little quote from Chumother's autobiography just to illustrate that point. I hope I have it. I don't think I put it on this document, but maybe it's behind me. Yeah, okay. I'll read it on my phone so I'm not turning around. Actually, you know what? Maybe I'll just turn around. Okay. For the salvation of all of humankind and realization of a world of peace, I determined myself and declared before Father Moon that I would rise to the position of the true parent. I accepted Father Moon as the only begotten son for the accomplishment of our Heavenly Parent's will. It was God's call to me to become the heavenly bride and the mother of the universe. I know that my path would be unimaginably difficult, yet I pledged I would live for God and absolutely fulfill my mission to save the world. I pledged before God and Father Moon, no matter how difficult the path may be, I will complete God's providence of restoration during my lifetime. Whew. So, I think, and we see that True Mother has this dedication to accomplish Heavenly Parent's will in her life, and she's lived her life according to that commitment. I think it's amazing, right? Just to be able to pledge that at such a young age. I'm going to dedicate my whole life. I'm going to sacrifice everything. And, maybe to the outside world, that looked really strange. You're more than 20 years younger than a man, or are you getting married to him? Maybe sometimes people won't understand the adventure you're going on, the deeper purpose behind your actions. But as long as you have a sincere heart and you're able to accept that mission without really caring what other people think, knowing that your heart is in the right place and that you're answering God's call, you don't have to worry about what other people say, and you can say yes to such big challenges because it's for the greater purpose. It's not just for yourself. And I feel like sincerity and these things that drive us, you can tell if they're pure or not based on whether they're selfless or selfish. I feel that if you say yes to taking the ring to the volcano, and you're doing it just because you want to display your strength, then probably your motivation is not in the right place. But if you say yes to God's call because you want to help alleviate God's pain and relieve him of his suffering and accomplish his will and work for the betterment of your community, then you're able to tell if your heart is in the right place or not, and if you're operating from a place of sincerity. So I thought these were two interesting examples of True Father who struggled at first, as I definitely would as well, to accept his mission, and then also True Mother who said yes the first time. So this is just to say, I'm not saying True Mother's better than True Father. I think that all of that talk's a bit unhelpful, to be honest. But this idea that, you can say yes now, or maybe the next opportunity is when you're ready to say yes. But if you've said no before, that doesn't mean you can't say yes now or the next time. So, and I was also thinking about the Bible. There are different stories there as well. If we think about people like Moses, when he was approached by God, he started coming up with excuses, right? I'm not the most eloquent speaker. Somebody else should do it. And then God can provide a way. Maybe if you have these little struggles and you feel like, maybe I could, but I struggle in this area, maybe God will provide you with an Aaron who can help you get your message across. And you can work with others. You can go on that adventure with others. You can invite your Samwise Gamgee, somebody who can go with you on your adventure. Or, of course, true parents going on that adventure together. And then, of course, we've got Abraham. And he was called to a crazy mission, right? When he was asked to sacrifice his son, Isaac. And I think a few of you are here on the workshop where the motto was Hineni, and this whole idea of here I am, not shying away from God's calling, but realizing that even if you don't understand exactly how or why this is your mission, no, why this is your mission and how you're going to fulfill it, you just say, yes, God, here I am, work through me. And I think that's really, really powerful, just to offer yourself up in that way. Yeah. So, for me, this feels highly relevant because when we think about going on an adventure, it's normally going from a place where you're comfortable and familiar to a new place, right? So in Joseph Campbell's work, he talks about going into the abyss or going into the forest. And if you think about like Celtic mythical tales or tales from wherever, maybe you see some kind of spirit or animal and you follow it into the forest and it entices you into this strange place where you can go on an adventure. And I feel like I'm at that crossroads now in my life where I'm leaving familiar territory here in London, England, where I feel very loved and I feel very welcome in my community. And yeah, I'm very, very happy with life here. But it's I feel like my calling from God now, because of the blessing, is to go to a different place and to start a new life over in America. And yeah, it's not easy, but I think when I was thinking about the blessing, I wanted to be able to say, Hineni, here I am to God. You know, I didn't want geography to be the reason why I wouldn't accept the partner that God has prepared for me. So yeah, that's why I guess this has been on my mind as well recently, because I feel like I'm starting a new adventure. But I guess there are lots of adventures that are going on simultaneously. This is obviously one adventure that I'm experiencing now. But we're all on our own adventures, but we're not just on one adventure. Maybe one is your blessing, one is what you're doing at work or at school or within your own family. We have all these different adventures that we're working on. And I think what's important is just having this sincere heart in all these different areas of your life. Yeah. So I think to conclude, I want to just remind everyone that there's no time like now. I think one of my dad's favorite sayings is carpe diem, right? Seize the day. And it was interesting, actually, yesterday I finished the book, The Great Gatsby, and I read the last paragraph. I thought, this is actually really relevant. I'm going to include this in my talk. So I wanted to read out this last paragraph and then maybe offer a different analysis on it than what is traditionally understood by it. So, this is, literally from the last paragraph of The Great Gatsby. I hope it's not a spoiler if anyone's planning to read it. But I had a look at it, and it doesn't really give too much away about the story, I hope. So, he had come a long way to this blue lawn, and his dream must have seemed so close that he could hardly fail to grasp it. He did not know that it was already behind him, somewhere back in that vast obscurity beyond the city, where the dark fields of the Republic rolled on under the night. Gatsby believed in the green light, the orgastic future that year by year recedes before us. It eluded us then, but that's no matter. Tomorrow we will run faster, stretch out our arms farther, and one fine morning. So we beat on, boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past. And I think in The Great Gatsby, the author F. Scott Fitzgerald, he's talking about how the more you try, the more your dreams will elude you. So if you run towards your dream will continue to go away. And as hard as you try to go forwards with your life, you're going to be drawn to the past. You're going to be lost in the past, always comparing the present with what came before and maybe trying to recapture something that's lost to time, right? You would never be able to go back to it. You can try as hard as you want, you just cannot go back. You can try to recreate something, but it will never be exactly the same. And I thought, yes, of course, that's true. We're progressing on a linear timescale. We can't go back and change things. But I thought you have two ways of responding to that. Either you can feel like it's hopeless and your dreams will always elude you. They'll always be beyond your grasp and you can never achieve them. Or you can think, at least I can take one step. I can get closer to fulfilling that dream. And even if it feels like it's further and further away, as long as I take one more step, one more step, one more step, I'm going to get closer. And maybe somebody else will inherit that journey. Somebody else can pick up where you've left off. For those of you who play video games, maybe you reach a certain checkpoint and somebody can load up your saved file and they can start off from that checkpoint and they can help get towards the goal that you're working towards. And I think all we can really control is whether we make a start or not. You have the choice if you're going to stay where you are or if you're going to say yes to the adventure and start progressing towards that goal that you have in mind. Even if you're not fully sure what that looks like, you can start going forwards and it will become clearer. As you approach your destination, it will become more visible and you realize, yes, this is actually what God wants from me. This is what we're trying to achieve. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know exactly what God has in store for me. I don't know what God has in store for you, but I just want to encourage everyone to be open to hearing God's word, wherever it comes from, whoever it comes from. And I fully believe that everyone here is a hero on their own journey, and I'm excited to see where we will end up. Thank you.